It's Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2020, and this is From the Mind of Joe. Today I present context for a Ronin story. It was around this time of year, 13 years ago, when I found a few separate and independent aspects of life already in progress to be on a catastrophic collision course. The one revelation in this period that eclipsed all others was my son's diagnosis with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's fair to say that, while technically unchanged, the apparent trajectory of our lives was drastically altered. A secondary thread served more as a backdrop. I had gone through a lot to include breaking away from a local dojo to establish an Aikido club for our homeschool community. Naturally, my kids were in that class. The realization that my son would not be able to participate in the physical activity that I was teaching to all of his friends was overwhelming. At that time, I was essentially a Ronin, an Aikido drifter, a wanderer, a masterless samurai. To form this club for the homeschoolers, I defied the local sensei, who thought to pull the club under his own umbrella. As a result, I was expelled with quiet disgrace and threatened with the revocation of rank from his parent organization. Of course, I was already carrying a black belt from years before, but even that was a curious matter. Was that belt official in that it wasn't presented in a traditional fashion? At the time it was presented, my original dojo belonged to a different lineage. They'd since changed affiliation. Tracing upward in the original parentage, I found that the organization's Shahan had passed away, and there was some active dispute in progress regarding the continuation of that lineage. Specifically, whether it passed to the Shahan's firstborn son in the Japanese tradition, or if it passed to the Shahan's long-term Uchideshi, who had received all of the master's teachings. Tracing further back, the organization in question was something of a breakaway tradition from Tohei Shahan, which was itself viewed by many as a breakaway tradition from Aikido's founder, O-sensei. I'd have lots of time to consider what it means to live outside of community and outside the norms, without any power or authority rooted in lineage, without an army to come to my aid, and without any guidance from anyone who'd gone before. We were already homeschooling, operating outside the area's ordinary experience. My son's diagnosis put our family on a decidedly unusual life path. I struggled to change how I worked so I could be home more to support the family in person and to be around while my son was still able to walk, a non-standard problem for people in my industry at the time. This Aikido dilemma was just the next piece in a puzzle without edges and without any sensible joins. Soon enough, in that same year, I'd encounter a reported Buddhist monk/Zen master, and maybe have the chance to consider some of the questions with him. But it did seem he was operating a bit outside his own lineage's margins as well. Who knows? Regardless, tracing back in so many different directions, it seems I have always been the heir to an ironically long tradition of Ronin. As I went along, I did keep some notes in 3 separate blogs: Inexhaustible Things for personal material, Baltimore Zen for more organizational things, and Sword Mountain for personal musing centered on Aikido and Zen practices. Of the 3, Sword Mountain is the one that remains, and all posts from the other 2 were incorporated into Sword Mountain before I decommissioned the parent blogs. Following this post will be a short story in 5 parts, originally posted to the Sword Mountain blog in 2007, right at the pivotal moment. Some of the series may lack context. Hopefully, this post will help fill in the blanks. Let's see where it leads.